So, the very first presidential debate took place between Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, and much like most Americans, I dislike both of these candidates very much, but it was entertaining nonetheless to see them tear into each other. Now, what I'll do is kind of give you my general breakdown of the debate, and then I'll get into the specifics and each of the three portions. Now, first, before I even mention Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, I will say that something was lacking from this debate, and that was Jill Stein and Gary Johnson. I think that their exclusion was unfair, and it was really ironic to hear the Commission on Presidential Debates gloat about how great they were and all of the work that they've been doing for the country when they excluded third-party candidates. So that was a load of horseshit. Now, when it comes to Lester Holt, I don't believe he did a very good job. As a moderator, I believe it is your job to hold both candidates' feet to the fire, and there were times when Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump had lied about their record, and he didn't call them out on it. He did rightfully call Donald Trump out about his initial support for the Iraq War. Donald Trump said that he supported the Iraq War on the Howard Stern show, but besides that, there were many times where both of the candidates said things that were factually inaccurate about their own records, and Lester Holt failed to call them out. He also did a bad job when it comes to timekeeping. So overall, I think he wasn't a very effective moderator, but I don't have too many gripes with him besides that. Now, the debate overall, it was terrible, and I saw a lot of missed opportunities. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump had times where they could have absolutely crushed the other, but they didn't take up those opportunities, or when they brought up a certain point, if they would have kept hammering away at it, I think they would have been more successful. So I saw a lot of missed opportunities, and overall, seeing that there's still a lot of undecided voters, I don't believe that either of them were able to convince undecided voters. Now, getting to the performances of the candidates, just generally speaking, Donald Trump, you can tell that he was out of his element. He rambled. It appeared as though he had a short attention span. Many of the things he said started off on topic, but then he began to kind of get sidetracked and it became incoherent. Whereas Hillary Clinton, she had all of her talking points rehearsed and she came off as the politician that she is. Donald Trump came off as unprepared, in my opinion. Looks like maybe he did a little bit of preparation for this debate, but overall, I think that he could have hit Hillary Clinton on multiple points, but he chose not to pursue those opportunities. Now, generally speaking, who do I think won this debate? Well, I think that you can make the case that it was a tie, but I'm going to give the edge to Hillary Clinton. At first, right after the debate was on, it was really difficult to tell because there were points where I think Donald Trump made great points about Hillary Clinton's record, and Hillary Clinton did the same, but I have to give it to Hillary Clinton because Donald Trump was playing defense the entire time, and if you're constantly put in a position where you have to defend your record and defend what you've said, then you're just not winning. Hillary Clinton had Donald Trump defending himself, but she was also able to play offense and make points about her record and where he was wrong. Now, there were points where Donald Trump called Hillary Clinton out, and rightfully so, but he chose not to pursue those points. Case in point, he brought up how Hillary Clinton cheated Bernie Sanders when it comes to the DNC leaks, and he didn't pursue that further. That clearly shows that she's not trustworthy, and he could have hit her for this, but he chose to back away and allowed her to kind of take control again. So he had so many opportunities that he did not take advantage of, and since he was on defense the whole time, I have to give it to Hillary Clinton. Donald Trump lost. He did not perform well, and all he needed to do, I think a lot of people were kind of grading him on a curve, if you want to say. And all he needed to do was not come off as a complete babbling idiot in order to be successful and hold his own against Clinton, who is a seasoned politician, and he didn't do that. He lost. So getting to the very first section, which is the economy, I thought that Hillary Clinton started off good. She actually brought up progressive policies, which is what she desperately needs to do. So she talked about raising the minimum wage, paid family leave, affordable healthcare, closing corporate loopholes, having the rich pay for these things. These are all progressive policies that Bernie Sanders championed. Many Americans, when you look at public opinion polls, agree with these policies. So those that are undecided and don't necessarily know about Hillary Clinton's neoliberal record, I think that would be pretty convincing for them. Now, Trump in my opinion, was a one-trick pony when it came to the economy. All he could really focus on was how jobs were leaving the country and how it was due to these disastrous free trade agreements like the TPP, which Hillary Clinton called the gold standard. But I mean, that was really all he could focus on. So even though Hillary Clinton is wrong in those issues, and Donald Trump had her at a point where he literally had her defending NAFTA, he backed away. He could have hammered her there, and Hillary Clinton defended a neoliberal trade deal, NAFTA, which sent many of our manufacturing jobs overseas. Trump chose not to pursue that opportunity. I mean, again, it shows that he's not a very good debater. Now, Clinton did a good job at calling out trickle-down economics, and she was good to focus on the middle class. She performed very well in this regard. Donald Trump was incredibly disingenuous. He talked about how his father gave him a small loan. We all know that loan was $1 million. That's not small. He also kept bringing up Mexico as though it was the one thing that he had read about and could only speak mildly intelligently about. And again, it was good that he brought up how she only recently flipped on the TPP once it became unpopular to do so, but aside from that, he spoke about trickle-down economics in a way that you don't necessarily see Republicans doing. I mean, they all advocate for trickle-down economics and giving tax breaks to the billionaire class, but Donald Trump didn't do what many Republicans did, which is why I think it made him unsuccessful. So the normal Republican would speak in a language that's more coded. Donald Trump was very overt in his defense of giving more tax breaks to billionaires and cutting regulations. This is not something that I think is going to bode very well with the general population. When you see the movement that Bernie Sanders was able to galvanize, just talking about how billionaires are greedy, how do you expect to win over undecided voters if you're going to get up on stage and adamantly defend tax cuts for yourself? And Hillary Clinton, again, she did good in saying that Donald Trump wants to get in office and cut his own taxes. She also was good when she blamed the economic crash of 2008 on trickle-down economics, which Trump was advocating for, and she also implicated Trump in that and said that his plan would blow up debt. These are all things that I think made Trump look really bad among the general population. Now, there were times when he just outright lied. He said, "I didn't say climate change was a hoax invented by the Chinese." In fact, he did. He tweeted it out. I covered it on the very first episode of this podcast. Now, getting to their tax plans and Donald Trump not releasing his tax returns, he looked like shit here, and Hillary Clinton hammered him on this nonstop, and he came away badly beaten. Now, when Donald Trump said that he'd release his tax returns when Hillary Clinton releases the emails she deleted, that was a smart move, but again, Donald Trump didn't pursue that further. And see, Donald Trump is creating the standard that Hillary Clinton created. So during the primaries, she said she wouldn't release her transcripts of paid speeches she gave to Goldman Sachs unless all the other candidates released all the transcripts of speeches they did. So she kind of created this new standard for everyone else, even though nobody else really gave those types of speeches. The thing is that he didn't really capitalize on this opportunity. He had Clinton on the ropes, and she defended herself well from that when I didn't think she could, and he chose to step away from that. So again, shows that he was a terrible debater, and he backed off of things that he could have really destroyed her on. And here's the worst part. Donald Trump literally did not deny. In fact, he implied that he didn't pay his taxes. When Hillary Clinton was hammering him on this and said that he probably didn't want to release his tax returns because it would prove that he didn't pay any taxes, he said that would make me smart. Not a good look. We are very anti-rich. We are very anti-billionaire. This is an anti-establishment election. What are you there for? You said you're there for the little guy, and now you're saying that you're not paying your income taxes, but yet we have to do that? No. See, he came off looking really terrible here. Now, I don't think this was a complete blowout when it came to the first portion, because he talked about how Hillary Clinton, she set up her private email personally. All of her staff was pleading the fifth. They've been incredibly secretive. That was smart, but again, as I've stated before, he just didn't pursue these things to the extent that he needed to in order to really get her on the ropes. Now, there were some good things that he did say. He said that we could have rebuilt the country with the money spent on the Iraq War. I think that's a good point to make. But Clinton brought up some good points saying that, Donald Trump built his own business on the backs of the little guys, and she really had him cornered on his shady business practices, and it was right for her to call out his 6 bankruptcies, because if that's the only thing that you're going to say makes you qualified to be president, well, then if you have a bad business record, then you don't have shit. And again, he just didn't hide the fact that he wants to give tax breaks to billionaires overall. There's no coded language. It just came off as bad. And when you look at public opinion polls, the American people, by and large, are much more liberal. They're symbolically conservative, but operationally, they prefer liberal policies. So Donald Trump didn't play to that. So I think that this came off really bad. If you're not going to hide the fact that you want to give billionaires tax breaks, that's a bad look. Now, am I saying that Hillary Clinton is not going to give more tax breaks to billionaires? Well, for her whole career, she's acted as a neoliberal and has implemented these types of conservative policies. In fact, at one time in the Democratic primary debates, she implied that she was in favor of trickle-down economics, and she also spoke about incentivizing businesses, i.e. giving them tax breaks if they treat workers properly. So I think she's probably going to do the same exact thing as Donald Trump is doing, but I don't think that he made the case that he wasn't going to do that, whereas Clinton was able to be more successful at hiding what she really wants to do. Now, when it comes to the second portion of the debate on race, Hillary Clinton did a good job at explaining her criminal justice policies. Donald Trump was vague. He only brought up platitudes. He talked about law and order, and he literally was on the stage defending stop and frisk. Why are you in favor of an unconstitutional policy that disproportionately targets African Americans and Latinos? Very bad. And Hillary Clinton, she gave him enough rope to hang himself there, and he did. So Donald Trump bombed during this section. He just completely bombed. And I think that she did a good job at explaining why stop and frisk would be a disaster. And she was good to bring up community policing, and I'm glad that she condemned private prisons, but I don't think that it was very legitimate for her to make that point, seeing that her stance on private prisons wasn't that far off from Donald Trump, seeing that she took money from private prisons as recently as 2015, but she stopped doing that when she got criticism for it. So I don't believe a single word that she says when it comes to private prisons, but I think that she explained why Donald Trump was wrong well right here. Now, I was shocked when Donald Trump brought up the fact that Hillary Clinton used the word super predator, which is basically, coded words for black youth. It has very strong racial implications. Everybody knows that. And for Donald Trump to bring that up, I was actually shocked about that. And the thing is that Donald Trump, if he really wanted to, if he was smart enough, he could have hit Hillary Clinton pretty hard when it comes to race, because he's used some really divisive words and has bigoted policies. If you're in favor of stop and frisk, you're just an imbecile or a bigot, either one of the two. But the thing is that he could have implicated Hillary Clinton for her role in expanding mass incarceration. There was more than just the super predator comment that he could have hammered her for, but he chose not to do it. So again, this is why I say Donald Trump had a lot of opportunities to try to criticize Hillary Clinton that he chose not to take. But one thing that I have to give Trump credit for was when he talked about how politicians, they only bring up African Americans and talk about their issues and criminal justice reform once every 4 years, but once it's not an election year, all of a sudden they don't care about African American issues. I've been saying this since the primary, and I think that Trump was correct here. But again, stay on that point. Hammer it home if you really want to win. He seems like he had a good point in his mind, but then he wandered away from it. It didn't make sense to me. Now, when it comes to birtherism, he looked like shit here. He didn't defend himself well. He looked like a bigot, and we all know that the reason why he wanted Obama to release his birth certificate was because Obama is black. Hillary Clinton could have hammered him more here. Donald Trump could have defended himself better here, but overall, Donald Trump came off bad because, let's face it, he was on the defensive here. And again, it was good for Clinton to talk about how Donald Trump was sued for racial discrimination for not renting to African Americans in the 1970s. But then Trump could only pivot and talked about how she was race baiting against Obama, which I'm surprised that he brought that up. I think that was a good move. But again, with how much he was defending himself, he had many opportunities, and I know he was thinking about them, but he had many opportunities to put her on the defensive, but he wasn't successful at doing that, which is why he really started to tank in this second portion, because What you want to do during a debate primarily is flip it. If you're on the defensive, bring up dirt on your candidate that puts them in that position. But Donald Trump was incapable of doing that. Now, getting to the third and final portion, securing America. This was the least substantive portion throughout the whole debate. Now, Donald Trump brought up how Bernie Sanders was taken advantage of by Debbie Wasserman Schultz, and he said, well, we all know what happened to her. That was great for you to bring up, Trump, but what happened to her? Tell the American people what she did to Bernie Sanders. Let them know that she's corrupt. Many people already think Hillary Clinton is corrupt because she is corrupt, and Donald Trump is corrupt too, but he could have explained to the American people how Hillary Clinton collaborated with the DNC to sabotage Bernie Sanders' campaign, and that's why she was debating Trump and not Bernie Sanders. If he would have continued to push her on that, she would have been on the defensive and she would not have been able to defend herself. And we know that because she completely avoided that question. Again, another missed opportunity from Trump. Now, another area where Trump missed an opportunity, he said before that she's trigger happy, and that's correct. But he didn't mention her new cybersecurity policy, where she stated that she wants to deal with cybersecurity threats militarily. And she's already talking about Russia and whatnot, and he rightfully brought up the fact that she's speaking in a manner that's very cavalier about Russia, but he didn't mention that her cybersecurity policy would potentially reignite the Cold War or even lead to a new world war. Once again, another missed opportunity for Trump here. He just didn't do his homework. And again, he came off really bad by saying that he didn't support the Iraq War. He's on tape. He went on the Howard Stern show. Now, look, let's be fair to him. Was his support unequivocal for the Iraq War initially? No, it wasn't. But when he was asked about the Iraq War on the Howard Stern show, Donald Trump said, yeah, I guess I support it. Okay, you're still supporting it. And then there was a point during this portion of the debate where I think Donald Trump just fell off the cliff. He brought up temperament and how he has a better temperament than Hillary Clinton. No. Just stop, because all throughout this debate, you're showing that you're not able to hold your composure. You resort to yelling. You get angry easily. You've proven demonstrably so that you don't have the correct temperament. And furthermore, you can use your bad temperament kind of as an advantage if you are successful at spinning it in the right way. You can say, look, I allow people to see my real temperament because I'm a human being. I'm not like these rehearsed politicians like Hillary Clinton. So he could have said, yes, my temperament, much like many citizens, is volatile at times. But Hillary Clinton, you'll never know her true feelings because she's such a rehearsed politician. So, he didn't know what to do with that. Now, when it comes to the Iran deal, Hillary Clinton was right in this regard as well. I don't think that Hillary Clinton is someone that can necessarily take credit for the Iran deal, seeing that in 2008 she said that Obama was naive to want to negotiate with them rather than just invade them or put more sanctions on them. I don't know. But she was good to imply that Republicans have been beating the war drum for years, since 2008. We had John McCain, when he was the Republican nominee, singing a song on stage saying, bomb, 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 bomb Iran. Okay, yes, use that against them, but she brought that up and then ran away from it. Use that against them. Ask him what he wanted to do. What's the alternative to the Iran deal? She could have changed the perception of people who think she's a war hawk and were undecided and say, look, I opted for peace. Donald Trump didn't want peace. So what's the alternative? Do we invade Iran? But she didn't do that. Now, she also was good to bring up his cavalier attitude on nuclear weapons, but I think that he kind of rebounded by saying that it was the single greatest threat. And then Donald Trump, when talking about the Iran deal, you can tell he didn't do his homework. I mean, he said that it would lead to Iran doing nuclear weapons. Well, that just proves you didn't read the deal, because I read the deal. It explicitly states that they are not to get or develop nuclear weapons, and because of this deal, they don't even have the ability to build up nuclear weapons currently. So he's wrong, and then he cited Netanyahu as a source. Okay. Netanyahu is not a credible source when it comes to the Iran deal. Bad move on his part. And here's one area where Clinton brought up all the experience she has as a senator, as Secretary of State, as First Lady. But Donald Trump, I think he responded well to that by saying, she has experience. Yes, she has a long resume, but it's bad experience. She did a bad job. She didn't perform adequately. So that was a good move. But the very last thing that I'll talk about is how Trump was triggered by Hillary Clinton's mean ads and implied that he wanted a safe space. Okay, if you're going to talk about PC correctness and PC culture, don't bring up how Hillary Clinton is mean to you, okay? Because what he's trying to do here is, since there's so many people worried about his temperament and how he's a bully, he wants to give people the perception that he's just being a class act, when we all know he's hit below the belt multiple times. So don't act like a little PC-triggered baby because Hillary Clinton is running mean ads against you. Run mean ads back, okay? And what she's saying is not bad. She could be hitting you on some really bad things that you said, but she's not doing that because I think that she's also not a very strategic candidate herself. But overall, the whole debate was about Donald Trump. The whole debate, Donald Trump was on the defensive. So because of that, I think Hillary Clinton was successful and she won. I saw some potential from Donald Trump. He knows what types of rebuttals to use against Hillary Clinton, but the problem is that he doesn't know how to stay on them and hammer home. He kind of has this short attention span where he'll bring up a point, but then he'll run away from it. And Hillary Clinton did that a couple times herself, but not to the extent that Donald Trump did. So I think that had he really hammered away on some of the points that I brought up, he would have been really successful. But the fact that he didn't do that means he lost, and he just had to show that he was mildly incompetent. But all this debate was him defending himself. By saying this, though, I don't want to imply that it was just that Hillary Clinton steamrolled him. I don't think that's the case. I think it was relatively close, and I think that you can even make the case that they tied, just given how he did have some really great rebuttals to some of the things that she said. But overall, just looking at the bigger picture, I think Hillary Clinton probably won because Donald Trump was just playing defense the whole time. And you don't want to do that in a debate. So I think that if Trump really reworks his rebuttals and makes it so that way Clinton has to respond to them and he keeps pushing on certain points and hammering them home, then he would be more successful. But he chose to hammer away at things that made him unsuccessful, namely trickle-down economics, namely the Iran deal. These are things that Hillary Clinton can easily debunk and things that the American people probably aren't going to take your side on. But if you want to defeat Hillary Clinton, pick the things that the American people agree with you on, such as the TPP, free trade deals, but do more than that. I mean, go further, hammer her on her corruption with the DNC, really hammer her for these types of things. But Donald Trump, there were so many opportunities that he missed. So for that reason, I think Hillary Clinton is the winner. But again, this wasn't a landslide. Hillary Clinton didn't destroy or demolish Donald Trump by any stretch of the imagination. She performed well enough to where I think this won't necessarily affect her badly in the polls. Do I think that Donald Trump will get hurt in the polls because of this? Well, not among his own supporters. I think in the end, most Hillary Clinton supporters will say that Donald Trump got crushed by her, and I think most Donald Trump supporters will say that Hillary Clinton got crushed by him. But overall, I think it was probably a lot closer, but I think Hillary Clinton, she's the winner because you can't be on defense the whole time. You just can't. If you're on the ropes the whole time, you lost. That's kind of my take, though, so I'm curious to know what you guys all think about this. Comment down below, who do you think won? Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I know one thing's for sure, being a third-party voter and not supporting either of these candidates, I think the main takeaway is that America lost. We're the true loser of this election because these two people are incompetent and they're not qualified to hold the highest office. They're both corrupt, they're both disingenuous, they're both very deceitful, they both lied during the debate. So, I mean, in the end, we all lost. I think that's the main takeaway and will probably be the main takeaway throughout the entirety of this election cycle and the debates. Let me know what you guys think, though.